Hello and welcome to the AWD Spotlight series. My name is Meredith Yinger. I am AWD member and director. And today we have the amazing Chelsea Gonzalez here with us today. Hi, Chelsea. How's it going?
It's good. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. Just for everyone watching, I'll give you the floor if you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself and kind of what you've been up to.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a director, go figure. But I began my career as an actor, and then I would say over the past 5 years, I've been transitioning to writing and directing, and I do consider myself like writer director. Although more recently, I have been directing a lot of other people's projects, and have found a lot of joy in not just doing things that I've I've myself written. But that's a little bit about me. And I joined Alliance of Women Directors over the pandemic. So it hasn't been too long yet, like 2020, 2021, somewhere around there. Yeah.
And what's your experience been with AWD so far? I was so excited to know that this even existed.
Totally. Yeah. I had known about it for a minute. And I actually, before I had even directed something, I knew about it and I was clocking it as something that I wanted to join when I was able to. And it's been fantastic. I've done the works in progress program, which I think is really, really helpful. When I was in post on a short, I went to them and sent in a rough cut and everyone watched it and we talked about it and I got feedback, and a lot of the changes that I made on that during post were from that feedback session. So that was really, really, really helpful.
Yeah, constructive criticism. You can never get enough of it, right?
Exactly.
I love it. So tell me too, let's talk about a little bit about your short All the Wrong Things.
Yeah.
If you want to kind of give me a little overview and also like what drew you towards this and why did you create this awesome work?
Thanks. Yeah, I wrote this and shot it in 2019. So I will confess it was the first thing that I directed. And it's really simple. It's just two people outside of an abortion clinic. And I would consider it's like two people fall in love outside of an abortion clinic is like my quick pitch for it. But to be honest, it's been really interesting. I didn't write it really with the intention of telling an abortion story, quote unquote. Like I just kind of started writing it and set it outside of an abortion clinic, and it was just interesting because it wasn't the hottest topic yet in 2019.
Yeah.
And so it was just fascinating to then go into the festival circuit and all of that stuff with now something that felt like a hot button issue. And I was like, wow, that's so fascinating. Like I never set out for it to be a hot, I
Yeah.
wasn't trying to
Wasn't
make
it?
a point. And then now it kind of has kind of become a thing where I'm like, wow, well, okay, this is great. Like I can use this as a way to make a point about this. And I think where I was trying to go with it is kind of like embracing the messiness of life. Like it's kind of, I would call it like in the realm of like Juno, where it's a sweet and funny and a little bit sad
Yeah. Very
story.
relatable also. Very relatable.
Thank you. So yeah, it's been a great experience, and I'm really, really happy to have something that I can honor in that way, during this time that's so crazy with everything happening with, women's rights issues. Yeah.
And speaking of, since it was your first directorial debut, if you will, kind of walk me through what was your approach or what were you really aiming to accomplish and how did you approach the nitty-gritty of everything?
Yeah. I mean, because it was a lot of me exploring like what is my process and all that stuff. I did I had a great DP, fantastic. Must give her a shout out, Ali Schultz. She's incredible. If anyone needs someone, she's amazing. She went to AFI for cinematography. And so we had a lot of conversations about just like how to keep it as real and natural as possible. And we went for like going basically until the end, the whole thing handheld. And I did do my little absolutely horrible storyboarding. I'm terrible at it, but I try. They're little stick figures. I don't know about you. Like, what's your
Going across.
storyboard situation? Do you do that?
Yes, but I am in the same boat. It is very, very basic.
Hard.
Just sort of gets you where it needs to go.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing fluffy about it.
Yeah. So anyway, that was kind of part of it. And then also it was kind of, again, for me, like figuring out my process as a director. It was a lot of figuring out how to talk to the actors, and it was nice. Like it was a perfect way to start, I think, because it was just two actors, one location. We had the whole day, And so it felt like we had a lot of time to explore and try things and try different things with the actors. And I don't know, I think it was kind of the perfect little story to tell for the first time, for the first thing I've directed, you know?
And then you can kind of evolve from there, right? So how has that been like for you, starting where you were and where you are today?
Yeah, I mean, so that was me testing the waters and obviously walked away being like, I love directing. And
It's
so
awesome.
I immediately like, you know, because it gets so expensive, obviously, but I put out a call to everyone I knew and I was like, I want to direct more. And so I was lucky enough. I think what's been helpful is I have a lot of actor friends because I come from being an actor and a lot of them don't know a lot of directors.
Mhm.
So I just had a lot of people that had things they wanted to make or maybe even had already had funding for, but they didn't have a director yet. And so I ended up attaching myself to 4 different projects over the past year or 2, which has been fantastic, like, just doing other people's work, and then now I feel like now I finally can say I'm a director. I feel like I've really explored enough, done different genres and different styles of things, um, that I feel like now I do have a process and, you know, all of that
Yeah,
stuff.
you can
Obviously still learning.
down.
Yeah. So now I really, you know, really would love to make my first feature. So I know that's a boat so many people are in. It's just like gearing up to make that happen.
Yes. Do you have plans for what your feature would be?
I do. So I've had kind of a crazy little moment the past couple of months, but I wrote a feature film. It's a horror comedy and it's about 3 women who are trapped inside horror films and they're the first ones to die in their film and they're just like being murdered over and over again on a Groundhog's Day murder loop trying to escape.
I
So
love
it's
that.
funny and fun. And so I ended up applying to the Sundance writing lab with it. And the people who run that lab, they were like, hey, so there's this other lab that's a new lab with Blumhouse, and they're looking for specifically horror writers. It's kind of through Sundance, but it's a Blumhouse lab. Can we refer you to them? And I was like, absolutely. So I applied to that, and then I did find out that I got in, which was super exciting.
Awesome.
So now I had the lab 2 weeks ago,
Oh my gosh,
and
recent.
I'm yeah, really, yeah, this is all super new. And there I'm like potentially developing it with them. My rewrites are due in 6 weeks. Yeah,
That's
so that's
amazing.
the
Huge
situation.
congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
I love it. I can't wait. I love what you just described. I can't wait to see what you do with that. That could be so fun.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
And throughout this process specifically, has there been anything that you've learned kind of along the way, like whether that be with writing, directing, or even in these labs and working with production companies that you found really helpful?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I've learned so much. I would say, oh man, I think the biggest thing that I've learned is, and I almost hate to say this, but it's how important the idea is
Mm,
because I think I've really never set out to like come up with a marketable idea or like anything like that. But I was like, wow, I think no, wait, I'm going to change it. It's the log line. I
mm,
didn't realize how important the log line was because once like the press release came out and everyone was like, "Oh, your log line, that sounds really good." And it's always been something that I just haven't spent a lot of time thinking about. And I think just from now on, I'm going to be really particular about making it really specific and clear and like maybe funny if the movie's funny or dramatic if the movie's dramatic. Like, I don't know. It's just something that everyone says is important. And I've just only recently learned firsthand how important it really is, you know?
yeah, no, that's totally helpful information. I feel like it can get lost, but if you have, you know, when you read a really strong, really good log line, right? Like you're like, oh, okay, like this is something I would want to watch. This is something I would want to be a part of, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So that's been great and amazing. And I think one little tidbit that I got that was so fascinating is we had Brian Murphy come in during the lab to talk to us, which was super cool to have a chance to talk to him. And you know, he gave a lot of advice about everything, but he was like, so I asked him, you know, like as a director, like do you have advice as the director, like what's your process? And he was like, I have no process. I honestly don't even know how cameras work, but I just know the tone of the thing and that's what's so important. But he was like, but I got a really good piece of advice from Steven Spielberg. And he was like, Steven Spielberg said the way to own the room as a new director is to come in to the room and then do the first take of the first shot. So do the first take, do the second take, and then say, moving on. And he was like, that's how you own a room, because everyone will then respect you because you only did the shot in 2 takes. I just thought that was really funny. I was like, I'm gonna use that.
I love that. No, that's super helpful advice too. You're just like, this is the best way. Do
Yeah.
it quick, do it well.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't waste everybody's time kind of thing.
Right. Right. So true.
That's awesome. No, this is very helpful advice. Is there any I mean, you have so many exciting things going on, but is there anything else that you want to share? Any ways that we can support you in this lab process or anything like that?
Oh man. I just hope that there's more and more in-person events with AWD, because I just like, I went to the party. It was like a year party something, or like I don't know, I don't remember what it was, but some like in-person thing. And I was like, oh man, it's just so nice to meet everyone in person. I just hope that there's so many more opportunities for that within this community. Um, but obviously, if anyone wants to follow me, my Instagram is Chelsea the Gonzo. And yeah, I think that's a good way to keep in touch. But
Yeah. I love
yeah,
the shout out to the Muppets.
yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, no, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I'm super stoked to know you and to now be supporting in these projects that you have coming up. And I wish you the best of luck, but you're doing the dang thing. So I commend you, for that. And I can't wait to see, what you do next.
Thank you. Right back at you. And thank you for putting this whole thing together. It's so great just to
Thank,
even you. Yeah.
thank you for even being a part of it and agreeing to it. You're like, who is this lady?
My pleasure.
Well, big shout out to AWD for allowing us to do this. And
Yeah.
thank you, Chelsea, for taking the time. We hope to do more of this, maybe in real life. Who knows? So
One day.
put it out there, into the universe, and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah. I agree.
Well, thank you so much, Chelsea. I appreciate you, and I hope you have a great rest of your day and best of luck on your future.
Thank you so much. You too.
Bye.